No! No! No!
What is up, ghosts? This is it. The Horror Pop Extravaganza. You know why you're here. Hopefully, what we're doing. If you're brand new, welcome. We welcome you here with open ghostly arms. And around here, listen up. This is official Horror Pop Extravaganza lore, knowledge. This goes in the what do they call those? The script Bibles or the whatever, the show Bibles that you can't mess up, you know, like Frasier had a Bible, like you can't derive from certain things. Is that our ghosts have shadows. In the Horror Pop Extravaganza, ghosts have shadows, boy. They float around with little shadow, just a little circle shadow underneath them, floating the fuck by, because that's what we do. Because you know what? They're happy little ghosts. And I feel like a shadow makes something more approachable. It makes it a little more real. But at the same time, it's like, yo, we're fucking different over here, bro. We're bringing the macabre to the motherfucking mindful. You know, these things got to come together. We're trying to bring two things. And so our ghosts have shadows. Like a lot of people's ghosts don't. But over here at the HPE, we got shadows. And I am Pops Ghostly. I am here with you today to talk about all kinds of super fun things. And with me, as always, is
For the first time on the show, Jason Bromley.
Huh?
What? And the reason for coming on and being my true self is because I put in my 2 weeks notice, sir, and I'm no longer a slave to the fucking man.
Yes. Good for you, dude. Oh,
Fuck
that's
those
excellent
motherfuckers.
fucking news. Oh, that makes my heart so happy for you, dude.
Dude.
To see the pain. I mean, there was people who wrote into the show and was like, "Yo, your boy sounds like he's in some real fucking pain." And I was
Yeah,
like,
dude.
and I could see it. And what people don't, a lot of people listening don't know is 9 times out of 10, you and I would sit after we stopped recording and talk for a little bit. And I'd be like, "How you doing, homie? Like, let's chat this shit out some." And so I got to see even deeper levels of what was going on. And it was, man, awesome. How did it feel? Like as soon as you were
Oh
done,
my.
how did that feel? How did it feel the moment you said it and was like, okay, this is official, or handed it in, whatever? How did that feel? Walk me through that.
It feels like 100-pound weight off my chest, dude. My shoulders actually lifted up 2 inches, and my dick grew 6 sizes bigger too. Like I just like came back to my old self, dude. And I was just like, my fingers just cramped into this position, dude, right here. Oh,
I
for the
love it.
first time, dude. Ever since I started there, my nuts have been chopped off. I've had to pretend like I was a different person to fit into this corporate environment, and I was so fucking sick of it, dude. But my biggest fear was like I didn't have anything to fall back on. And I still don't have anything to fall back on,
Yeah.
except for the fact that I've been being traumatized by this horrible boss lady at my work to the point where now I can get unemployment because I can obviously prove a pattern of like abuse.
Oh,
So even
absolutely.
though I've quit, I can get unemployment and I'm going to use that for right now. But mostly my focus is just to take a little bit of time off, much like yourself, get back to me, get my health back, get my mental health back. And just then I know that I can tackle the world and take on the next big thing. But as long as I had that job, I was never going to be able to focus 100% on being better.
Now, hindsight being what it is, how much earlier do you wish you would have pulled this trigger?
I wish I would have pulled this trigger the first time when my boss flipped out on me like 3 weeks after starting, dude. Every single time past that was me like putting my arms up on the fucking rack and being like, whip me as hard as you can.
Damn. I am so happy for you, man. I can see it. Like you're fucking glowing almost.
Oh,
Yes, dude.
I feel so much better, dude. I feel
So
like the air changed.
for anyone listening, if you are in a similar situation, please let this be evidence that it's scary It's fucking
So
scary,
scary,
but
dude.
it feels really good once you walk away from a situation that is contributing to the detriment of your mental health or physical well-being or anything. Like I'm saying, like I can even see it in your eyes. Like you look fucking like happier about life. I'm sure your kids are like, "Whoa, Dad, what happened? Are you on heroin? This is amazing. You're so happy."
Yeah, no, it is like that. And I want to say to anybody that money is not worth your mental health or your physical health. It's just not. And I don't know I don't have a safety net, but I kept waiting for that safety net to be able to get out of this situation. And I finally got to the point where it's just not worth it anymore. And thank God I have a supportive wife who's supportive and saying, like, but the first day we were both like, fuck yeah, way to go, we're awesome. And then the next day we were both like, are you a little scared shitless? I'm a little scared shitless. But
Change
I'm
always
making
comes with scared shitless, dude. Change
absolutely as it
always
should.
comes with as it yes, change is scary. If you can learn to be comfortable in change, that's an amazing place I would feel to sit. You know, if you're like, I'm good, it doesn't fucking matter. But yeah, continue, please. I want to hear the rest of what you gotta say.
Just that yeah, and it was like an abusive relationship. I've posed it like that before. But she would get in trouble, she would get better for a while, or even just like I would be more on my own for a little while, and I would talk myself back into like it's not so bad. Like I can keep toughing this out. And then you get slapped again, and you're like, "Oh no, where did that come from?" You
Right.
just
What did
keep
I
doing
do
it
wrong?
over and over.
What did I do wrong?
Right, right. And it's like an
Yeah.
abusive relationship. I kept going back thinking like this time it's going to be different.
Right.
This time she's going to love me for real.
And the terrible thing here though is places of employment should never feel like that.
No,
Ever.
agreed.
And I feel too often they do. You put people, especially, I feel like the middle management kind of area where you give people a little bit of power and they fucking run with that shit. And yeah, it should never feel like that though. You should never feel at work like I want to jump out the window, out
Yeah,
my face, you know? Yeah,
yeah,
screw that 7th floor elevator ride. I'm gonna jump out onto my head.
exactly, dude.
Offensively.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if I am very, very extraordinarily happy for you, dude. I can't wait to see where this takes you. If I could recommend just one small thing, I would say, throughout the change process and all of that, try not to get stuck in the worry part of it, the uncertainty part of it, because it's easy to get stuck there and be like, oh, fuck, I'll just run back to what was comfortable. And sadly, and to anyone who's been in an abusive relationship, I've had people close to me who were in abusive relationships, like physically abusive relationships. Sometimes the comfort level, even though it is abusive, it's still known. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? And so it's easy to turn around and go back to a job that we didn't like or a relationship we didn't like, because at least there we know what to expect. We
Right,
expect to know we don't like this.
right.
You can go the other way though if you really want to, and try not to spend as much time. Those feelings will come and go, but try not to spend as much time there and be like, this is a great opportunity to fucking do what I want to do. I can define myself, right now. But anyway, we just almost did the mindfulness part all the way up front. I want to do you're doing the mindfulness today. You're bringing it to the table because I really liked the one that you had sent me earlier in the week. But we do have to talk about a movie. We got to start with the macabre. And this movie is a remake of a remake of a remake of a remake of an adaptation, dating all the way back to the 1920s. I believe it was 1922 when Nosferatu, which would make it 103 years old
Damn,
this year.
dude.
Yeah. When I think it was Moreau, maybe. And then I can't remember who played Max Schreck or Schrock. Anyway, because whenever I say Max Schreck, I'm like, oh, that's fucking Batman Returns, dude.
Me too.
Fuck,
Always.
yeah.
I'm like walking within that.
Right. And so, but you get this really old adaptation called Nosferatu that came out in the 1920s, and they couldn't call it Dracula at the time because Bram Stoker's thing was so fucking huge. You didn't have as many books as you have now. You couldn't fucking everybody couldn't self-publish. You didn't have humongous libraries where you could go and get, we've now been printing books. I mean, since the fucking printing press, we have a vast, huge collection. But back then, you didn't get as much. And when you got one, that was a cool thing, you know. And you fucking traded around your family like you had books. That was probably fucking cool in 1897. But he drops this book, little Irish dude, Bram Stoker drops this book, but they can't do it because he's still alive and shit, and people are copywriting, you know, they'll do that forever. It's like, hey, pay me as long as that shit's making money. And it wasn't until his widow passed away, I think, and then the copyright lapsed, and now you see fucking Dracula, Nosferatu, everything. But they had to go the Nosferatu route, change a bunch of the names and things like that. But it is essentially Bram Stoker's Dracula. It is that source material with some changes here and there. We would see it done again, you know, with Lugosi in 31. You would see it in the 70s, like a remake of this one directly by, was it Werner Herzog, I think, did the Nosferatu. And then you had, you know, Vampire that was like this story. And as I was rewatching this, and if you haven't figured it out, we're talking about 2024's Nosferatu, the newest outing with Bill Skarsgård. Actually, I'll let you do all that because there's some great names to bring up in this thing. But we're going to be talking about that one. But this story has been told so many times. You know, this shit is now to the point of like Hansel and fucking Gretel, dude. Like everybody knows the story. I shouldn't say everybody. They might know the story of Dracula or know the image of Dracula, but the story of somebody going to the castle to bring him back to the new world, and he's going to come. We even had a whole movie about the boat ride recently, like 2 or 3 years ago. The fucking last voyage of the Demeter was a flick. So this is a lore that we understand very well. And it was interesting to me when they were like, we're going to redo Nosferatu. And then I saw Robert Eggers' name attached to it. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I like this dude. I liked The Witch. I really liked The Lighthouse. Like, that shit was fucking wild. And I feel like there's one more in there that I'm forgetting about, but it pretty much, which one?
The Northman.
Yeah, naked Alexander Skarsgård fucking wiener fighting, dude. Let's do it. Only thing sexier was Viggo Mortensen in that Eastern Promises in that sauna. That shit was intense. The Northman though, very cool as well. But he is I don't want to say a tour, you know, to use that too loosely, but you know, it's one of his movies when you look at it. You know, he approaches things a little different, like other dude with the fucking Revenant. I can't Alejandro. Anyway, but yeah, he approaches it, you know, and I saw that in The Witch and I liked it. And he even talks about The Witch. He's like, yeah, you know, it's kind of hard now. I look back and I'm like, fuck, why did I do this? Why did I do that? Because the dialogue was, if you didn't have the subtitles on, that shit at times was heavy. But again, you get to the end of it and you're like, this guy knows how to slap you in the face. It's like he knows how to tell a story, get his talent to work, and do this thing. So he's bringing Nosferatu back. I see Skarsgård attached as the title character, Count Orlok, and I'll let you take it from here. So why don't you please lay it out there before I voice any opinion about what I think about this thing? Why don't you let us know who made it, who's in it, all the other good stuff, and what does IMDb think that Nosferatu from 2024 is about?
All right. So Nosferatu from 2024, starring Kevin Smith's favorite Lily Rose Depp.
Kevin Smith's favorite. Yes, Yoga Hosers herself.
Yoga Hosers.
Yeah.
Buddy.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
I'm sure we'll talk about it.
Yep.
What a performance, though.
We'll talk about it.
Nicholas Hoult. Everybody's favorite Nicholas Hoult. The guy that Pops thought was 3 other actors before we finally got to Nicholas Hoult.
You know what, though? I do like Nicholas Hoult a lot. I do enjoy him. I liked him. Wasn't he Beast in the James McAvoy X-Men, like Days of Future Past and shit? Yeah, I thought he did all right in that too. But no, he's good, dude. He's good. Yeah, I fucked up. Hey, I'm disabled. You can't make fun of a disabled people who's one of their symptoms is foggy memory. Not fair.
Nicholas Hoult will soon be seen as Lex Luthor in the new Superman.
Yeah, I'm so excited about that new Superman, dude. I
want it to be good.
It looks like it, though. The way Crypto showed up, dude, there's heart. Superman has heart. The fact that he's there with everybody's favorite dog. I mean, personally, I'm an Ace the Bat Hound kind of guy just because I'm a Batman guy. But I would love to be more of a Superman, but I just feel more of a Batman. But Crypto, the way he showed up and he's dragging him across the fucking ice like, Crypto, take me home. Fucking yeah. Yeah, dude, this is going to be all right. Hopefully. Ooh.
Our dear buried in makeup Bill Skarsgård.
Oh, yes. And
Or
this
like you may
is
have seen more of
really,
Bill than you realize because he's always buried under makeup.
yes. And there's a lot of makeup in this one, man. Holy shit. We'll get there. Go ahead.
Aaron Taylor Johnson, Craven's Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yes. Craven that I saw was already like $10 on iTunes or some shit. They were trying to peddle it at me the other day. I'm like, wow,
Yeah,
that must have done real bad because I feel like that just came out.
I think it's hilarious because this guy, if you've seen him without a shirt on, he's like Hugh Jackman ripped. Like it's ridiculous. And in this, he's just collars up to his freaking chin.
Yeah.
Doesn't have any of that. He could have ate burgers through the whole shoot, and I bet he didn't. He was still probably training for Craven.
Like the dude in Training for Craven. The kid in Cabin in the Woods, the pothead. Like I know underneath all those clothes in that movie, he was fucking jacked. He was like
Right.
ripped, and they were like, "Yo, dude, you can't." They're like, "You want to get a little frumpy or something?" He's like, "No." They're like, "Okay, just cover him in combat coats and cargo pants. It'll be all right."
Totally. Little unknown actor. I think this was his first time in a movie. Willem Dafoe.
Now, fun fact though, Defoe did play Max Shrek in Shadow of the Vampire about the making of with who was in that with him? John Malkovich, I think, played the director,
Yeah.
possibly. But yeah, Defoe got to actually play the vampire. And I'm like, damn, dude, that's how many times this fucking story's been told. Is that Defoe played this character in it, that character. Now you harken back to the days of, say, Hammer horror or Universal horror. You would see character actors like Lugosi, Karloff trading off the roles. I'm the monster, you're the vampire. I'm the doctor, you're the fucking monster. But yeah, Defoe, dude, I love this man. I love this man.
He is great, like in everything. Even when he's bad, he's more awesome than when he's good.
Right. There was a scene in this, I feel like, where he's flailing around in the air, and it reminded me of Boondock Saints. There was a firefight, and he's fucking shooting the gun off into the air. But yeah, he's so good, dude. And have you seen Antichrist?
No.
We might have to bring that to the table, and that's a Defoe performance that is the absolute, in my opinion, some of the top notch. But it is an extraordinarily hard movie to watch. It
Really?
deals with shit that's really fucking heavy and it's very, very graphic. Very
Wow.
graphic. But it's Willem Dafoe, and I can't remember the female lead, but she crushes it too. It's like two people carry this whole fucking movie pretty much, and it's good. But yeah, Dafoe, the best.
The best. Let's see. We got Emma Corrin. She played Anna Harding,
Right.
aka Lucy.
Her best friend, right?
Yeah.
Yes. You can change out the names, you know. You can change out what was it in the original? Harker. I think Jonathan Harker's then traded over for, and then Mia's traded over for another name, and then Emma, or yeah. So anyway, go on, please.
Ralph Ineson, who is coming over from The Witch. This dude, just his voice creeps me the hell out, dude.
Yeah, he's so good, man, and it's so deep. He looked like he could have been the third brother of the fucking mountain and what's his name, the Hound on Game of Thrones. You
Dude,
know, like
totally.
yeah, he's got this hey, whatever, and he's playing this, you know, doctor character while you got Defoe on the other side playing fucking mad scientist. It's yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. And then Simon McBurney, who I've seen before, don't really know where he was. He was playing Knock, which is who's
The
Renfield.
yeah, Renfield, 100% Renfield.
Yeah. Written by Robert Edgers and Henrik Gelin, who I believe worked on some of his other stuff. And IMDb says this movie is a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and the terrifying vampire infatuated with her, causing untold horror in its wake.
Ba 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 ba.
Bum, 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 bum. Basically, it's a vampire who's horny for a lady who lives in another country, and he fucking crosses the whole sea to go hump her.
Pretty much. Um, but this one is queued up as she's a little girl. We open up in this dream sequence, or her as a child, like anybody, come save me. I'll, you know, and all of a sudden out of the dark, there's this voice, I'm here, or some shit, you know. It's and we don't see him yet, but then we cut to it just as many years later, and we've got her. I watched this last night. I sat in here by myself, threw it up on the big TV in the dark and shit. This is a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Like
Or
so many of these pieces are great.
yeah.
I did not like this movie at all.
Oh, me neither, dude. Fuck this movie.
Okay, man. I was like, damn, what am I missing?
I was so bored.
Yes. And you talk about Lily Rose Depp. She's fine, dude. But this performance demands a caliber that's like one step higher.
They
You
needed Anna
you
Taylor-Joy, who was
you,
originally cast.
you need Anya Taylor-Joy, dude, all day because you can see Lily Rose Depp's acting.
Yes.
You can see it in some of the scenes where it's supposed to be really powerful. Where in him and her
When her
about
eyes roll back, dude, and she starts slobbering, and you're just like, nope.
like not
This is
sold.
like high school freaking like improv class is what it reminded me of.
But let's do it in our due diligence and go through the movie because we owe it that, and then we can talk about it along the whole way. So, like you said, or I was mentioning, we open up with this dream sequence and then immediately thrust into the future of a story we know. And we're not going to spend a lot of time on the story because the story is so well known. It's just been
Yes.
like chewed up to death. And it's a great story. That original source material, the book is so fucking good. And it's, one of the reasons why it holds up. And it's free. It's copyright. It's a good story that's free. And so people like to do that. But we jump to the future where we meet Timothy Holt, he's working with Knox, his business, whatever boss or somebody for a solicitor company or some sort of real estate organization. He's getting ready to go to Transylvania to get with Count Orlok, and this is his big break, that he's going to get a big fat paycheck. He'll finally be able to get married. He'll be able to do all these things. They suckered him with the money, just kind of like you were talking about. They were like,
That's
hey,
right, dude. It's
yeah,
not worth it. Get out, man.
right. So they sucker him in with the money. Meanwhile, she's having these visions and these nightmares that she's telling him about. I have these dreams and they're so real. And she keeps saying, but I kind of like it. There's this sense that I don't like that I like it, but I do like it. There's this overwhelming.
I don't like that.
Yeah, it was strange. Their whole relationship was very strange. And I just wasn't sold on like her convulsions. Like it was good that she could move her body, but it just never felt nothing for me that she was doing landed really hard. Not to say bad performance. She's not a B-level fucking actor. I'm not saying she can't act. I'm just saying in this situation right here, had you thrown her into The Substance opposite Demi Moore, I think it would have been even more apparent. But in this situation, Anya Taylor-Joy, in my opinion, she's a fucking beast, dude. That woman shows up in anything, and it's just like, you're getting good acting. You're going to get a killer performance. So you've got Lily Rose Depp, who's like, oh, don't, I'm having these fucking dreams of shit. And he's like, I'm going to leave you with my homie and his wife, blah, 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 your friend. And you guys are going to chit chat along. Don't worry, it'll be okay. And he takes off, dun, goes up the mountain and runs into the gypsy people who are at kind of the last stop before the mountain town, and they all tell him, just like in all the other ones, oh, what the fuck, no, he's a monster, he's a black magician or some shit, and the devil spared his soul because he was so evil to keep walking the earth. He's like, fuck you, I gotta go make my monies. And so I don't know how he sneaks out and sees them doing the ritual,
He
which is
wakes up in the night, yeah, and he just sees them doing it outside, and then he goes out there to check it out. And they've got a naked young lady on horseback taking them through a graveyard.
to a what they
Vampire grave.
vampire grave, and then they stab it, and the vampire's like,
Like
fucking
when her nipples get hard, they know they're at the vampire grave, and then they dig it up, and then they're like, look at him, he's gross, stab him.
like to think of her nipples like a vampire dowsing rod, like beep, beep,
Yeah,
beep.
that's exactly what they are, dude. They like kind of move and like point toward where it is, and then they're like, that one.
Yeah, but he witnesses this and then wakes up the next day, and everybody's fucking gone. His horse is gone, everything's gone, town is empty. So what would anybody do for that almighty dollar? Take off on foot, dude. You just start fucking trekking it. This is probably my favorite scene in the movie when the carriage shows up. I always really liked the image of the driverless carriage in the book and in the other movies, and the wolves and shit like that. So this thing comes, it's towering at him. He hears the da-dum, 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 and there's these big black horses on two legs. And then he turns and looks. We got big wide shot. And again, the movie's really pretty. Like I liked looking at this movie, but there was nothing there outside of that for me. Well, it wasn't much there outside of that. You get this big thing. He hops in the carriage, and we see the carriage taking off towards Orlok Castle with wolves following behind it, which I thought was another nice little touch too. I was like, that's cool. You actually have, the Guardians taking this thing through. We do get a pretty sizable shift here from a lot of the other Draculas, in that when we meet Orlok, I don't know what this Orlok was supposed to be.
Me
Like
neither.
a fucking Hungarian, maybe Romanian, like soldier with some of his clothes. He had like this big fucking hat, this huge hat on, and then these furs everywhere. And then he cut his hair that looked like some shit from one of the psychos in Borderlands, where he just had this little like curly Q on the top.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
the
he looked like
mustache.
strong guy from the Marvel universe with his hair.
Yes.
And then with his hat, dude, he looked like one of those dudes from Wizard of Oz.
Oh, oh, wait, you're right. It was so big. I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm like, what is this, man? Like, what is this vampire? And then his mustache looks like it could have been in Tombstone. He could have been the fifth member of fucking Tombstone, dude, hanging out doing
Yeah,
his
dude.
thing.
He's a mighty cootie catcher, dude. And I think
Dude,
as a vampire who's getting blood all over your face all the time, you wouldn't want all that shit in your stash.
no, dude, no, nowhere. And he's very bony and skinny and just shriveled all the pieces, dressed up like you said from fucking as Zangief from Street Fighter. I don't know why, but he is. And he's very creepy from the onset though. With Lugosi, you did see there was an elegance to it. There was a I never drink wine and all that. One of my
Right.
favorite lines with the wolves, children of the night, what music they make is just so good.
Yeah.
And he was a little more refined like that, whereas this is much more grotesque, much more monster vampire than
Right.
Kiefer Sutherland's sexy vampire.
And there's no fucking reason for him to stay that first night. Like he would have been like, fuck the money, I'm out. This dude's a creep. At
Yeah.
least with like even the Bram Stoker one where he was very creepy, he still might have been human. This dude is like obviously a monster.
Right. And you just came up through like the whole village being like, yo, he's a fucking monster.
Right.
And, yeah. And he does. We see Holt plays it pretty well. He's shaking and shit and looking around, but I'm with you. Like, I would have left.
Yeah.
But I want to say Orlok's like, we got to do all the paperwork right now. And that's when he gets him to sign some document that he doesn't really understand. It's all kind of doesn't make sense and shit. And he's like, just sign your name. And so he does stay. He fucking cuts himself like the traditional kind of in the movie. And that's where we see Orlok get a little bit excited. And I want to say he goes to, is that when he goes to bed and then he bites on him the first time, maybe?
Yeah, like he gets him like right away.
Yeah, and then because while he's still there, he tried to kill him. He goes to the coffin but can't, and then he bites him, and then Orlok's gone. But I feel like that was the second bite, and then Orlok's gone, and the wolves are after him. But then he takes off, and some fucking nuns find him. I think.
I was ready for the three sexy ladies to come up out of the bed. And in this, you just get Orlok kind of as a wolf slash slender man,
Yeah.
kind of humping him while he's like dry boning him
The,
while
the sucking
biting him.
noises, the sucking noises.
Yeah, like he's drinking a gallon of fucking fluid out of him.
Right. It was very, and maybe that's to go against all of the kind of typical, sexy era that we've had for the last little while of vampires. But yeah, the sucky noise, and you're right. Kind of like it reminded me of my dog or my cat. Like they get on my leg or some shit. I'm like, get the fuck off me. Like, what are you trying to do? Like, I ain't your mate. And he's like,
And when Orlok comes out of his coffin, dude, no fucking fancy suit on or a cape. No, he's rocking full dong, dude, hanging down around his fucking kneecaps. I
yeah.
was like, ew, dude. And it's so dark. The whole scene is so dark, but somehow they lit his schlong all the way from fucking base to tip. I
Yeah.
don't know how they did that.
One special light. And they were like, we need the cock light. Hey,
Can you
Greg,
imagine the PA that had to be the
right.
cock light? Like, oh fuck.
Greg, get the fuck over here, cock smoke. Get down there and
Lunch
light.
is over, bitch. Get the cock light.
Right.
Take 69.
Any more mouth and we'll put it in your mouth. Shut the fuck up, Greg. But yes, he comes out of this thing and he's a fucked up nightmare, but then he takes off and he gets out, but then the nuns find him. But I don't recall how he gets back to town. I just know he's
Climbs out a
on board.
window and he falls off the castle like 200
Oh,
million
that's how he
into the
got to the
river.
nuns. But I'm
Yeah,
saying when
yeah, oh
he
yeah.
gets back to his wife, he just came on that horse like
Oh
you
yeah.
pretty
The
much.
nuns were like, "Don't go, you're not healthy yet." And he was like, "Fuck
Oh,
you, I'll
that's what
go."
it was. Yeah, I gotta get back.
He
And
shows up with like a little bit of beard, completely clean, with like a little bit of beard, and you're
well,
like,
no, he was passed out though.
"What a rough journey."
Right. He was passed out because you think she's talking about the vampire. She's because we see what's his fuck knock in the psychiatric hospital. This dude's biting heads off pigeons.
That was gross, dude.
Dude, that's always been one of my favorite characters in the Dracula story, though, is
Me
Renfield.
too.
He's
Me too.
fucking, and we got a whole Renfield movie recently that was amazing. And
With
who
Nicholas Holt,
I was gonna say with Nicholas Hoult playing fucking yeah,
unoriginal fucks cast somebody else.
right. You got Defoe who played the vampire, Holt who played Renfield. Bring them all in. But oh my goodness, fucking that was such a better movie than this one. So, and that wasn't even a great movie, but it was still better than this one. So he ends up back in town, but not after Knock eats the bird, and then he escapes from the psychiatric hospital by killing the guard, bites his neck all up, climbs out the window, and he's like, "The master's here," and he's fucking running down the street like, "Hee hee hee hee." And meanwhile, the Demeter is setting sail from Transylvania to, I don't know if they're in England somewhere, Wisberg. I can't remember the name of the town. Wherever they're headed, they're going there. And the plague starts really fast on the ship.
Yeah.
And we do see a little bit of the whole voyage of him coming across. And then there's one guy that's finally like, we got to kill this fucking demon. And he goes down there. And then fucking Dong Man shows up, like you said. And he's just like, ah. And the boat crashes into the pier into town, close to where everyone is at. They both show up. Nicholas Holt's friend, I don't remember what his name was, but the other homie who's trying to explain it all away as science. You know, everybody's talking about science, and they do eventually reach a point where the one doctor's like, I gotta consult my homie who's, you know, deep in the occult and shit like that. And that's when Willem Dafoe shows up. And Dafoe's fun to watch, but
Oh,
he's not given enough to really, you know.
he's phoning this in, dude. He is.
Yeah, and it's hard, man. I don't even know if he's phoning it in, but it's just like, yeah, what do you want from me? You know what I mean? Like, what more can I do with what you give me? He ramped
Right.
it up to 11 a couple times to show his relationship with science and the occult and pulling in that direction.
This was played by Anthony Hopkins. How do you beat a Anthony Hopkins performance?
True, true. I mean, it was played by so many good people, dude. Like Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, fucking crushed it as Van Helsing. Even the fucking scary German guy in Monster Squad is like a cooler Van Helsing-esque character, you know, the one who shows up to help you defeat the demon. But he tries to explain to them this is a supernatural thing. She's being controlled from beyond. You notice it only happens at nighttime when the vampire's awake. And we do get flashes of her seeing him and him seeing her and these back and forth. Once Timothy Holt's back, kind of, or Nicholas Holt's up and running, they get in this big argument and then end up having like a really uncomfortable sex scene on the couch.
Really uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure it was meant to. He as a director and writer seems to make you want to be pretty uncomfortable, you know, like Willem Dafoe farting in fucking Pattinson's face in The Lighthouse is one of the most uncomfortable yet funniest things I've ever seen. He's like, you fucking farts.
He makes sex real gross though, always.
Yeah, yeah, and this is very Very gross because she's even saying, this is an act of defiance in the face. Show him you love me, or show him that we're not going to accept it, or something like that. And so there's this unbound or unseverable tether between Nosferatu, Count Orlok, and her, and she's trying to get rid of it by banging him. That doesn't really work. And then the one scene that is very fucking haunting right around here that stuck with me was them two little girls. He had one in each hand and he's fucking sucking the blood out of each one, and mom walks in.
Yeah, dude, that was rough.
That was intense, man. That
Yeah.
was very fucking intense. I was like, wow, okay. And so now she's dead. The two girls are dead. Dad thinks it was just the plague that killed them, ends up going to the catacomb, or not the catacombs, but the tomb. And is like knocks his wife's coffin open and is laying there with her dead body and shit and talking to her. And I think
When
he
they come in, I was so confused and so appalled at the same time. When they come in and they find him in there, is he not like pants down? He was like banging the dead body and then he somehow died?
I don't
Because
think
they come in and he's like, dude, rewatch it. Dress up, pants down. Yuck.
all right, I'll try and yeah, I mean, I don't know.
We see him kiss her in the coffin. When
Yeah,
they find her, she's full out of the coffin, like on the
on the
floor.
little coffin couch, whatever. It was like, in a
Yeah, yeah.
mausoleum, I guess, where you would
Right.
get places for people to sit. But
Yeah, dude. And like his butt cheeks are hanging out and he's like dead. I'm like, what?
I thought he died of the actual plague because he had the shit on his face, like
He
whatever
did.
that.
And they never like kind of because at this point they like fast forward the story. We're going like really fast through
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, because it took us a while, and this is a long runtime too. It was like 2 hours 13, 2 hours 15, something like that. It's not a short flick, whereas the original source material was, and I feel, at least I guess if you're comparing the video source material, not necessarily the book, but this shit does start to move quick. And then you've got the two doctors who are now hunting after um Count Orlok, but they send Nicholas Holt to fuck. Where did they say? Is he the one that found the body? Because the doctor, fucking Willem Dafoe, knew the whole time that the girl was the only one who would be able to stop, and his obsession with her would be able to hold him in the room until daybreak. And
Right.
so he separated them intentionally, but I can't remember where Nicholas Holt went while they were, or maybe they all three went together. And he's like,
They
"Where's
sent
Orlok?"
him to destroy
They
the
all
coffin.
three, yeah, but no, they all three went because she was alone with Orlok in the room, and
Right.
that's when they tell him when they're in the mausoleum, like, "I couldn't tell you. It's the only way to kill this whole curse and this virus." But this is where her performance for me, I was just like, dude, it just didn't work, man. It was
Off the rails, dude.
it was supposed to be so powerful and all this stuff, and then it was just, and him, like, like you said, the sucking noises out of her chest, like pulling her life force, and then he slowly realizes, like, you actually hear the crow call.
Oh shit, we've been banging all night.
Right. And so he then is killed on top of her, and they show back up to her room, and she's dead, he's dead, and they're both just laying there, and the evil is gone.
Thank God.
I haven't, I know it had mixed reviews when it dropped. Like, some people really like it, some people really don't. I guess if you hadn't had a idea of the source material, then maybe. But
It doesn't. It's so in the zeitgeist.
right after this one, this morning, I was sitting in here drawing for a little bit, and I threw the original on TV, the 1922, which for me holds a very deep place in my heart because when I left Michigan the first time, right after high school, moved out to Washington, like, didn't have a lot of anything, like, really didn't have a lot. But I had a couple DVDs, and I had Alice in Wonderland and Nosferatu, and I used to fall asleep watching Nosferatu almost nightly. And I was just so like engrossed in this world of these angles and thinking, like, this is 1922, and his performance is fucking terrifying, dude. It's still creepy, like, the shadow, and they did have some cool shadow work in here, hands and images walking
Like CG, like not real. The 1922 is real.
it almost looked like painted on, you know what I mean? Yeah, like, why
Yeah.
not figure out how to do the shadows?
when the big shadow hand came in and opened the doorknob, that was so silly.
Dude, yeah, because it grabs like the doorknob shadow, and it was
Yeah.
very silly. Um, so
And
yeah,
I thought
I-
Orlok looked silly. Like as much as they made him try to be scary, it looked silly.
it didn't look scary at all. I was like, I would
Oh,
not be scared of that mustache. I'd be like, bro, your fucking mustache, like, get rid of that. Like, who you think
yeah.
you're scaring with that thing?
The image of Nosferatu still haunts me, dude, from the 1922. Like
Yeah.
that image is terrifying. And they kind of like redid that again in the Salem's Lot.
Oh yeah, yeah, and like Shadow the Vampire, you get some of it. And again, to your point, though, it is so in the zeitgeist that you be watching SpongeBob and they'll be like, "Oh, Nosferatu," hey,
Totally, dude.
it's yeah. So it is. It has been around for that long, and I would encourage people listening to this, if you've never seen the original, take the time and go back and watch that. And they've remastered it, they've colored it, they've done all kinds of things. I try to find as close to that original one as you can with the original title cards. There's something really fun and magical that happens in that space. And it is a fucking freaky movie, dude. The guy playing fucking Redfield is all fucking And even in Dracula, I like the cat that plays him in Lugosi's Dracula. I thought he played a good kind of schizo Renfield. But he couldn't do all the blood and stuff, so he's eating flies and rats and things like that. But all right, so out
Like
of
when Watts played him in Bram Stoker's.
oh yes, dude.
It was so good, dude.
Dude, I mean, we should probably revisit, not soon, just because I feel like I need a breather from vampires for a second. But we should visit Keanu Reeves and do all that fun stuff,
I
get
think
the
for
old
by
man.
far the superior version of this film.
Oh, out of these two, 100%, dude. And like you said, you can get all like the Monica Bellucci, the brides that we always knew, Dracula has his brides and all this stuff. So this is a different version, and we need different versions of things, but at the same time, if you're gonna call it fucking Nosferatu, do something, different. I don't know.
I feel like this is the fourth Eggers film that I've seen. And while I'm interested because his ideas appeal to me, I always go into them all excited. And then I'm like, I feel like the fun has been sucked out of my life.
Yes. He forces you, and it's interesting because this is also one of those things where you compare it to like a what is it, Craig Zoller or S. Craig Zoller, something like that, Craig S. Zoller. But Bone Tomahawk, Brawl in Cell Block 99. The dude makes crazy movies, but they're also somehow fun at the same time.
Right.
Whereas, like you said, with his, it really is sucking your energy, like.
Yeah.
And this one felt more like an endurance test for me than any of his other stuff, which I really enjoyed. Whereas this, I was kind of trying to fight my way in. Like, damn, we got another like hour to go in this
Yeah.
story. And for me, a big chunk of that is just I know this story so well. I know where these characters are going. I know what's doing. You could dress it up a little bit, but you didn't dress it up fun. You took like the fun parts and made them not fun and dressed up everything else. And so, out of how many gross vampire, Russian mustache vampires do you give Nosferatu 2024?
I give this a 1.5 for the look of it. That's the only reason it even gets points because I felt like the performances were. Yeah, and I mean it's weird because they're giving it, but I
Right.
feel like we give them like a little bit too much credit because they're English. So we're like, oh yeah, this is like fancy, this is like British and stuff. But it didn't do it for me, dude. And I mean all these actors are great in other things. But yeah, I stand by it. It was a slog to get through. And visually, I feel like at first it's really appealing. Like the first time we see Nicholas Holt running through England or London or whatever, I was like, that's cool. That's a London I've never really
Good.
seen before.
Yeah.
But
Good.
at that point it kind of like falls off. And then the shots are really close up on everything. So you don't get shots of like the room very often. Yeah, I don't know. There was no fun in it for me, and there's no point in this remake for me.
I'm with you. I'm going to straight one. I couldn't
Ooh.
even give it the extra half a point. Only because, like you said, I know these people are very talented, and I think there's a part of me that always feels bad about talking about someone's art because it is a
Totally.
subjective craft.
Yeah.
There's probably someone who's like, this is my favorite movie ever. But for me, I've seen these people, almost all of these people do like incredible shit,
Right.
like really incredible shit. And so this seemed like a lower point, but we can give it its comeuppance as it is now another, bar, a little lower bar that we can set against some other shit. And again, it's nothing against writer director either. He did some awesome stuff, but there's a way better version of this. It's like trying to remake Jaws. Like
Exactly. Yeah. Trying to do a classic movie is
it's
almost
fucking
dumb.
hard, dude.
And
Yeah.
it's hard, yeah. And I know this was like a passion project for him for years and years, and he fought so hard to get it made. So
Yeah.
for that, like I give it to him, and it's like you said, I feel bad for shitting on his passion, but it didn't play for me.
Right. And that's okay. That is okay if a movie doesn't play for you. All right. So you sent me a message the other day. You're like, brah, can we
Is
do
that
that?
how he sounded in your head?
Yeah. Anytime you rate me, I just get that. So you sent me this thing. Hey, I was thinking, I know, the mindfulness part, you'd like to bring some shit, but this really spoke to me. And I was really excited about it. So I'm going to let you present, who it is, what it is, and why it spoke to you in the way it did. And then maybe we can talk about it a little bit.
I say who it's from before or after.
After, always start with the quote.
After. All right, here we go. You will continue to suffer if you have an emotional reaction to everything that is said to you. The power is sitting back and observing everything with logic. If words control, if words control you, that means everyone else can control you. Breathe and allow things to pass. Bruce Lee.
Oh, Bruce Lee. I love Bruce Lee. And he wasn't somebody without an ego either.
No, he was not.
Yeah, he was very insight. He was a human being. We all have this capacity to be, everything. We all have the capacity to be everything. And I've been reading this fucking book recently, dude. The ego tunnel that is like opening my mind to some shit where I'm like fucking crazy. But this idea, and Bruce, I've read the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, his philosophy, his martial arts books, a couple different biographies. I read one book by Shannon, and she talked about her dad, and I really, really admire Bruce Lee and look up to him in a lot of ways. Not every single way, but in a lot of ways. And I think his philosophy was so spot on in that Jeet Kune Do, the way of no way. The only way is to have no way. And I'm like, that makes sense to me. That makes a lot of sense. But what did this say to you? Like where it jumped out and was like, yo, that should make some sense.
I mean, this was 100%, dude. I'm sitting at my desk in my office and I'm contemplating. I had just gotten done with a meeting where I realized for the millionth time, as much as they're trying to create a change, nothing is changing here. They're still requesting me to change to fix the problem that I didn't create. And I literally was like, I need to cool off for a second. I pull up my phone and this Facebook delivers this to me in the moment I needed it the most from someone that I also respect, you
Right.
know, what they say. And so I was just like, and it just like all this stuff just filtered in, all the things that you've said to me, like every mindful session that we've had where I've like, it all relates. I was just like, this lady, the only power she has over me is that she says horrible shit all the time that just like cuts you to the bone.
Yeah.
And then you realize though the only reason it cuts you to the bone is because you're letting her sword be sharp.
Ah,
Like,
I like that. Yeah.
yeah,
That is true too. That is very
yeah.
true.
Are you gonna let someone beat you with a fucking katana, or are they gonna fucking douse you in cream cheese and that sword just comes apart and you just let me spread that on my bagel and eat it and fuck you.
Fuck you.
But right after this, dude, I fucking closed my office door and I wrote up my letter of resignation.
Nice.
Yeah, and I
Bruce
fucking
Lee has a way of communicating, I think, that was accessible to everyone. That
right.
old interview he did, I can't remember the name of it, Piers someone or other, and it's such a profound look at the man, as he was trying to break into US stardom. I turned on Kung Fu the other day, it was on TV, and I was like, I can't even watch this shit knowing what I know now. He was
Right.
too Chinese. He was too Chinese to play a Chinese man. And I'm like, get the fuck. Can you imagine how good that show would have been if he was walking around with a fucking dude just whooping ass all over the desert and shit and helping people?
Yeah, dude.
But I really like what he says here. If you let words control you, if you let what other people say control you, then you give them that power. And that applies to everything in life. If you let stuff control you, if you let money control you, then you give your power to money. If you let safety control you, you give your power to a sense of safety. There's so many things that can control us, but if you do let words, if somebody can say something to you and, break you down, and that's something I've been, even today, there's been some shit going on in my life where I've, the matter of words and things like that, and how much words matter, and the act of communication and how we communicate. Are we communicating with a soft voice or with anger in our voice? But if you can get rid of that, if we can get rid of that, the fact that words don't matter, that's fucking like a power move, dude.
Absolutely, dude, because no one can hurt you then.
Mm-mm. And it's not to say that you don't open yourself up to other people, because you could also become a reclusive, like, I'm never going to let anyone in so no one can hurt me. But now you're also preventing anything good from getting in.
Right.
You're putting up a big enough wall to where it gets out the bad, but it also gets out the good at the same time. So I think it's more being open, but allowing yourself to not be steered by what other people say.
The word control was the one that really like set into me, because I was like, that is what she does with her words, is that she doesn't just make me feel bad anymore because it's been going on for so long.
Yeah.
She controls how my day goes, because the first thing I have to do in the morning is go in and speak to her and talk about it. And one of the things that kicked me right in the nuts was that my boss, who's always been protecting me, my boss's boss, who's always been like protecting me and everything, in the last meeting we had, she said, I think before you leave in the day, you should check with Kim and make sure that there's nothing she needs you to do before you go home. And I was like, well, there went the last little essence of my ball sack that I had left. And I was just like, that was like the straw that broke the camel's back right there, dude. That was it for me. I was like, this is never going to change. It's the same thing repeated and reserved to me in a different dish, and I'm still supposed to eat it, but it's always shit.
It's always the same. And sadly, not to joke at all, I think a lot of people get stuck in those positions. And this is why we've had an increase in people going fucking crazy at work, and murdering people who, going into your place of work and just shooting that motherfucker up, dude.
Yeah.
Like you said, and it's either you either quit or it's going to continue to build, and it might snap the other way. I'm not saying it will, but yeah. And you said it's the same thing every day. And if you just keep, it's like you're Clockwork Orange, dude, with your eyes
Yeah.
open, just watching the same bullshit over and over, like, not Ludwig von, anything
Yeah.
but Ludwig von. They just keep shoveling it in the way they shovel it, and like, hey, here's your meal. Eat that
Yeah, they
motherfucker
expect
up.
you to take it for that paycheck, dude. They're fucking renting your sanity.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Renting
I
your whole everything, your mental well-being, your physical well-being, they're renting your everything for a price, and you get to determine that price. We are not a slave state. We are a free will, at will employment country. So you can determine that, but too often I do feel we get trapped in those places, and it's very hard to get out. And I'm so glad you got out on the side you got out on, because man, fuck. Fuck.
exactly.
So I have a proposition for next week.
All right.
The episode that never was. Shall we
What?
revisit Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3?
Oh man, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm like, man, I want something that's just fucking fun, straight horror. Nobody's trying to
Yeah.
tell me a story or tell me a message. It's just a good time, and it's got fun characters. And for those of you who have listened since the beginning, that one got lost to the wind. It didn't get recorded. We did a whole episode on that one, and it was a lot of fun. But I want to go back because I feel it's been long enough now. And I was flipping through the stations last night, and Texas Chainsaw was on, so I turned it on, and then Chainsaw 2 was on after that, so I left it on, and then Chainsaw 3 was coming on, but I wasn't going to watch it. But I was like, yeah, I fucking like that movie. I like that movie.
Oh yeah, dude.
So, for the Horror Pop Extravaganza, this is a new day, people. New day, do life. Go out there, do a random act of kindness to someone. I've been Pops Ghostly.
And I'm Jason motherfucking Bromley.
No! No! No!
Horror.
extravaganza.